Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard, good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today, breaking down news of the day, none other than the incomparable Sharon Reed. Always fascinating to have her brilliant analysis. Top story of the day. Hell of a thing. 5 male NYPD cops decided to brutally arrest and then physically touch a woman in a private area after the brutal assault. I want you to see the video, and I have the background. Here it is.
Why you want me like that? What is y'all for what? Get your camera, brother. Relax, it's female. Y'all some real heroes, man. Damn. Real person. Hey, get my baby cotton candy out my trunk. Back up. Sir, why you touch me like that? Back up. How many times you want me to tell you? This Max, I don't want to get that serious. What's that serious? Why y'all doing this like that? Babe, nah. Just get their names. That was crazy. Okay, so what is your bike? It's my stole. It's my bike. You paid. Why y'all taking me to jail for that? Nah. Why you keep pushing me? No, why you? Nah, babe. Babe. No. I'm right here. No. He's not aggressive with me. We're not racing. No. Bitch. Fuck up. I ain't a bitch.
All she wanted to do was purchase cotton candy for her 5-year-old. Put up the picture full mask. Kiana Moody wanted to purchase cotton candy from Coney Island for her 5-year-old daughter. But that maternal decision landed the 32-year-old Black woman in jail after she was beaten and arrested by a group of NYPD officers who accused her of illegally operating an e-bike without a license plate. One cop named Lieutenant Lakalamita even called her a black B-word, okay? He did this while arresting her. That's according to a notice of claim her attorney filed against the city last month, which is the precursor to a lawsuit. And as a reminder, before you sue a government, you have to send them notice to sue, which is required by law. The incident took place on the evening of June 11, 2024. After Ms. Moody and her husband rode their e-bikes from their Brooklyn home, where they met up with 2 motorcyclists. Moody was riding a Z6 Fly e-bike, while her husband was riding a Venom Fly e-bike. The group decided to ride their bikes to Coney Island, which was just over 7 miles away. Once at Coney Island, Moody purchased the cotton candy for her daughter, who was not with them at the time. The 4 adults then stood around their vehicles conversing before Ms. Moody and her husband decided to return home with the cotton candy for their 5-year-old daughter. But as she was preparing to leave, a group of NYPD cops accosted her, grabbing the keys from the starter of the e-bike, demanding her license and registration. But the notice of claim states that she was not required to possess these documents under state law, which was why she did not have those documents in her possession. Put up the lieutenant that is accused of calling her a black B-word while placing her under arrest. Keep that picture up. So the lieutenant, which by the way, this means that he has rank, which was when the other officers attacked or tackled her based on his order and tried to tase her. Even called her a black B-word while arresting her, according to the notice filed against the city. The cops then threw her face first into the back of the patrol car with her hands cuffed behind her back. Once again, that is a violation of departmental policy according to the notice of claim, because it can lead to positional asphyxia, a condition where an individual's position prevents them from breathing. The abuse continued at the 60th precinct as she was standing in front of the desk, officers with her hands cuffed behind her back, when the same lieutenant that allegedly called her a black bee came up from behind and kicked her legs, causing her to fall to the floor, according to the attorney. That same lieutenant then stood over her and told her to, quote, get the up, as the other officer stood and watched and failed to intervene. The notice of claim states, quote, after this subsequent assault, the claimant was subjected to an unlawful and invasive search, according to the notice of claim filed by the attorney, Eric Sanders. Quote, despite the presence of a female officer, male officers conducted a full body search, making inappropriate physical contact with her breast, vaginal area, buttocks, thighs, and other parts of her body. Her pockets were emptied, yet no female officer intervened in the search process. Let me tell you why that part is important. It is a policy call that if a female officer is available, for the female officer to conduct that kind of search, that kind of body or cavity search on a female officer. Typically, even if a female officer is not available, the male officer or the sergeant in charge will tell the officers to wait until a female officer is available in order to conduct that kind of search, which would lead one to believe the reason why this search was conducted was to violate this woman in the first place. And those other officers who stood by, knowing the damn protocol, said not a word while it was happening. This is why the attorney made sure that it was part of the actual claim. There's more. She was then charged with what? With improper display of number plates, obstructing governmental administration, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct. But a judge dismissed the charges under an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal, which means they can be refiled if she gets arrested again within 6 months. It's been more than 8 months. She has not been arrested again, so the charges have been officially dismissed and sealed. This is very similar to what some would understand as a dead docket case, where there's no prosecution. Basically, the prosecution says we're going to drop the charges if there's no subsequent arrest in the future for a similar charge. The judge did this. Why would a judge do this? Well, typically because the judge is aware that something doesn't smell right. 6 months passes, 7 months, 8 months, there's no arrest. Charges are dismissed holistically. Quote, since this traumatizing and unconstitutional arrest, the claimant has suffered excruciating back pain that radiates down her legs, numbness in her right foot, specifically her big toe, and tingling sensations in her arms, hands, and fingers, the notice of claim states. Additionally, her right shoulder, which had previously undergone rotator cuff surgery in 2017, was re-injured due to the violent manner in which she was body slammed and restrained. Put them all up. Listed as defendants are Lieutenant Daniel Lacalamita, Sergeant Stanislav Zubik, Officer Michael R. Moran, Officer Alvin M. Naves, and Officer Jared W. Cordero. Left to right, okay? All 5 defendants have histories of abuse, misconduct, racial profiling, as outlined in the notice of claim, which also states that Black people represent 30% of traffic stops by NYPD while only making up 23% of the entire damn population. Keep their pictures up. What are you looking at? You're looking at the reason why there's an us and them mentality that exists between community and cop. There is no trust in officials like this. And when alleged good cops sit back and do nothing, it creates a deepening of that atmosphere, a deepening of that sentiment, because those good cops are not as good as they believe they are. Very thankful for this attorney filing the suit. Very thankful for this family not simply being okay with the charges getting dismissed. But in order to affect justice, you have to push the needle. You have to assert your rights. You have to go to the next step. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Actually, one of the most difficult things that a person will have to decide to do. But in this case, obviously, it was required in order for justice to hopefully be reached. Sharon, one of the saddest, unprovoked, absolutely nonsensical arrests I've seen in a long time. What say you?
And they were wrong, right? About whether she was supposed to be carrying certain documents to be a legal, electric bicyclist or whatever. And that's no excuse. I would think police officers, we can start here with no basic laws and ordinances. What do they tell citizens? Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
That's right.
As you ran down just the horrific nature of this, I was thinking kidnapping, assault, sexual assault, verbal assault, maybe even attempted murder. And I don't think that's a stretch, Doc, because you went very clearly through when they threw her into the vehicle. Yes. We know people who have died. You've covered it on this show. Yep. Until there is the book thrown at these people. And I even wondered, I take you better knowing the law and the situation here. I even wondered if the judge kept a little window open to keep her from perhaps pursuing the monetary claims. These thugs need to be off the street. People are not safe, black and brown people in particular, but these thugs are mobsters, whatever you want to call them, are terrorizing New York. And it doesn't surprise me. They've had other things in their records that should have been dealt with. Thank goodness you're shining the light on this. Just utter filth.
Yeah. And based on a notice of claim, you actually have a hate crime. Because if this officer yelled out, "You black B word," that goes to a racial dynamic of the physical aggression, which is case in point, textbook. That's your racial aggravating circumstance. You now are coming after a person because of their skin color. You have this as part of your bias. You should be charged with an actual criminal, assault or actual hate crime. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, because of the affidavits that may come, or at least sworn testimony, you'll see criminal charges are fixed, not just civil. All right, hell of a thing. Donald Trump is raising your taxes. Proud of it. I'm going to show you how. So Trump confirms 25% tariffs against Mexico and Canada will start on Tuesday. No room left for negotiations. Here it is.
But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
Put it up full mass. All right. This is why smart people should be in the room to make big decisions. Because if not, dumb-ish like this happens, and we all suffer. Starting just early this morning, imports from Canada and Mexico are now to be taxed 25%, with Canadian energy products subject to 10% import duties. Later, during the press conference, another reporter posed a question to Trump, quote, "On the tariffs, there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect?" Quote, answer, "No room left for Mexico or for Canada," Trump replied. "No, the tariffs, they're all set. They're going to effect tomorrow." Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, has taken a firm stance in responding to these tariffs. Here it is.
At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay. Let's put it up full mass. So the Prime Minister of Canada, obviously, having to respond to this insanity, gave a very direct response. And now the rest of the responses are flooding in from both Democrats and conservatives. Investment advisor Gary Black says, quote, "Yeah, I voted for Trump, but I never thought he'd be so foolish to actually move forward with 25% tariffs, given the well-documented history of how the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 triggered the onset of the Great Depression as global trade flows dried up." That is correct. Also, conservative writer begs Congress to block Trump trade war. Republicans in Congress have the power to stop this tariff madness right now and prevent a catastrophic trade war that will undermine the U.S. The U.S. economy, conservative analyst Charles W. Cook wrote for the National Review. And they have to do this. All they have to do is find the courage to do it. Now, that's interesting. He doubled down. Quote, "Congress can stop this right now, literally right now, today, this morning, before lunch, in a matter of hours," wrote Cook. "The Constitution gives absolute control over tariffs to Congress. As such, any power that the president enjoys must be delegated. With one bill passed by veto-proof majorities, Congress could take back some or all that power." CNBC's Jim Cramer says the lack of any thought here is stunning. Here it is.
But it isn't like they've said, okay, look, here's the schedule, here's the tariff. Like when you were in Europe and they did Brexit, you got the schedule, you got the tariff. You said, oh, okay, I owe this. They haven't given us anything. We don't know what we owe and what we don't owe. We don't know where it's paid. We don't know if it isn't paid. Do we owe them? Who owes it? Does the buyer owe it? I mean, the lack of any thought about this, David, is stunning.
Well, isn't that interesting? All of the conservative money men, the individuals who once would have said Trump is a genius, Trump's economic policies, they're winners. They're all flying away in some amazing, newfound, light, truth, realization. What about Fox News? Safe haven for all things racist and all things Trump. Here it is.
You said people are freaking out and the market's freaking out a little bit right now. A lot, I should say, down about 729 points right now. What's your take on why that is, Kevin?
You've got two forces at play here. We're talking about affordability czar because the price of eggs and housing and energy are not showing any signs of declining at this point. And we were even concerned until we see the Jobs Act later this week, or the jobs numbers, what the economy looks like. And so there's that uncertainty. And then you've got tariffs could be coming on tomorrow on Mexico and Canada, massive trading partners. And to a certain extent, over the long period of time, they would be inflationary, particularly on things like lumber for housing. And the lumber industry just yesterday and today said, look, we can't make up this capacity for at least 4 to 5 years. And so that would put a lot of pressure on housing prices.
Right. Systems impact systems. That is correct. But we've been saying this from day one. That, coupled with the fact that hundreds of thousands of individuals will no longer have employment or will no longer have gainful employment because of the new policies from Trump, federal workers being laid off. Not only do you have people not being able to afford everyday items, like 30% of veterans who work for the federal government, you also no longer have the injection of economy. All of this aims to do one thing. It will eventually, if it continues, bring you a depression. Let's put it up. The White House, this is so interesting, okay? It doesn't end there. So Trump has also paused all aid to Ukraine after the infamous meeting in the Oval Office several days ago. The White House had no immediate comment on the details and the amount of aid affected or how long the pause would last. Zelensky has now responded. The Ukrainian president also said he is ready to sign the rare minerals deal with the Trump administration. Mr. Zelensky's comments come after the Trump administration paused all military aid to Ukraine to ensure that it is contributing to a solution, based on quote. Writing on X, the Ukrainian president said, quote, "None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence," he added. In Zelensky, I see a true leader. Let me tell you why. He could have been prideful. He could have stood 10 toes down and did the arrogant thing as Trump and J.D. Vance would have done it and hurt us, hurt Americans. But I think Zelensky, when he took that ride back home, I believe he started thinking about the people, his people, the people that were adversely affected due to this melee of insane political back and forth. And he decided to swallow every inch of pride he had, apologize to two individuals who don't deserve it, and say what was needed to be said. All right, sharing thoughts here.
Yeah, what you said and then some, Doc. I particularly like what Justin Trudeau said as well, the Canadian Prime Minister. Stop calling him governor, okay? He is the leader of the country, right. Trump. It's just so juvenile. He said it in English and French, and he basically kept it real. You may be smart. I mean, maybe that part's not real when talking about Trump, but this is just dumb. You're creating chaos. It'll happen very quickly for people. It'll happen very quickly for people who voted for Donald Trump and can't see through all of their own issues. This is sick, and I agree with you about Volodymyr Zelensky, okay? He is being mature here. I don't know how you could not get triggered, okay? We both know the same Republican friend who is saying things like, he should have been more prepared when he went in the Oval Office. What are you talking about? You're dealing with a malignant narcissist, and there's nothing that was going to affect the outcome. Nothing that Zelensky could have done to affect it. But here he is thinking about his people. Trump could learn something there, but he'll never think about us. So
that's right. That's right. That is the contrast between those two leaders for sure. All right. Well, hell of a thing. A racist man who attacked a black female neighbor has now been charged. These details are still developing. Put up the picture full mass. I'm going to take you to Seattle. A Seattle man unleashed punches and kicks on a black female neighbor while yelling racial slurs is now going to face hate crime charges. The attack occurred just steps from the woman's home, and the alleged perpetrator was a neighbor, a fellow resident in the Cambridge Apartments in the First Hill neighborhood of Seattle. Here's what happened. Around 8 p.m. on the 25th of February, the victim and a friend were chatting near an outdoor staircase when Mr. John David French began yelling the N-word from his back door. That's according to a probable cause affidavit obtained by the local news outlet Fox 13. So Fox 13 Seattle reports the 42-year-old suspect then bolted from his apartment, lunged over a small wall to assault the woman in what prosecutors say was completely unprovoked attack. After knocking her to the ground, the suspect unleashed a torrent of punches and kicks while continuing to yell racial slurs. The victim's friend intervened and chased Mr. French back to his apartment, where he then locked himself in while the victim and a friend called 911. According to Seattle Detective Eric Munoz, the police set a perimeter around the area when French refused to comply with police commands to vacate his residence. Suspect only relented after a judge fast-tracked the approval of a search warrant that night, giving them permission to enter. The victim suffered cuts and bruises to her head, face, and knees, and was treated at the scene, reportedly refusing ambulance transport to the hospital. Put it up, what the detective, this is the detective. Here's what he said, quote, "It was very important to get this person off the street. This was disgusting behavior. It does not need to be happening in our city." Quote, "Seemed to be unprovoked by the victim. And it was pretty traumatic for the victim," said King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, the spokesperson, Casey McNerthy, according to KIRO7. The prosecutor's office highlighted concerns over the unpredictability of the alleged attacks, adding, quote, "When you're going about your day doing nothing wrong, and all of a sudden someone is accused of hitting you like this and saying those terrible things, that's really frightening for anybody who identifies like that." Okay? So what's happening? We're having more of these stories of unprovoked racial attacks, not just between neighbors, but also with a cop and a citizen, neighbor and neighbor. These individuals at least have knowledge of each other. They have had some level of interaction with each other. Seemingly it wasn't violent in the past, all of a sudden it became violent now. What's happening? What's going on? It can't just be the water. There has to be an atmospheric dynamic associated with these new cases we're seeing that permeates beyond social economic class or even professional industries. It's just happening too damn often. Let me give you the charges. So Mr. French was arrested that evening, was charged with a hate crime the next day on the 26th. The defense attorneys argued in court that he has no criminal history or arrests in Washington and should be released, saying, quote, "This is an isolated incident and something that requires treatment rather than incarceration," reported KIRO7. Prosecutors, on the other hand, they requested a $75,000 bond due to the severity of the attack and requested that French be held in jail until the woman could file a restraining order against him. As of the 28th of February, French remained in custody at the King County Jail on a $20,000 bond, according to the Seattle Times. And the prosecuting office said the suspect is expected to enter a plea deal at his arraignment, which takes place on March 13th. Now, it's going to be interesting how this plays out, and we will bring you updates as it develops, because if the victim files a restraining order, typically that restraining order is going to cover the parameter of that particular apartment complex, meaning if Mr. French moves back in, he's in violation of that restraining order. In addition to that, the argument from the defense counsel is that because there's no criminal history, this individual needs to be let go. I would argue the opposite. You mean to tell me that there is absolutely no provocation, that there's no history of violence, and all of a sudden he damn near killed somebody? I think that is standard procedure to keep you there. Because obviously there is something very different about how you think about folk around you. You have no context for this kind of violence, but all of a sudden you damn near kill your neighbor in a violent rage. You're not going home. You should not be home, and you damn sure should not be around this person. All right, Sharon, this is a hell of a story, but once again, we've been reporting on these kinds of attacks more and more, and indisputable. What say you?
I agree with you. I say exactly what you're saying here. Unless you can produce a doctor's note about how they got your medication all wrong and it was something else put in the bottle that made you go insane. I don't know why we're not safe with somebody who's accused of doing this. If he did just a little bit of this, we've got to figure it out. So, it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, keep him locked up. Black woman under attack again. Here we go.
Yeah. Completely unprovoked and completely did it knowing that others were watching. This is starting to happen way too often. Obviously, we're going to continue to bring you these stories and more. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
A fill-in host beats CNN headline news combined. At some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
They want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago. When I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. This I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw, all hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much for you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. You don't say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. I appreciate everyone for joining the conversation. Shade Dragon says, cops don't tend to be big on consent. It's true. Brett Campbell, aka Dragging My Ass. I have an e-bike. You don't need to have a stinking license plate for an e-bike. Yeah. About the racist neighbor, Busy B says, you can't treat hatred that deep. RJL Network, thank you. Member for 32 months. Really appreciate your support. America needs to stay vigilant as we are heading for some dark times with this administration. Thank you, Doc, for the truth. And we thank you for the truth as well. And yep, Mojo_quit. A lieutenant, huh? Yep, absolutely nothing is going to happen to him about this. Well, hopefully we can change that. And Nightmare 316. Trump tariffs. MABA. Make America bankrupt again. All right, got something for you. Lighten the mood a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Okay.
He's not going to. The guy came on the screen and said, go ahead.
This guy works at, this is Assault Palace.
Go sit
Okay,
in your car
no,
and leave.
I actually have a reason. So we're at the Assault Palace. This guy works here. There's probably 300 cars waiting. Here we go. And he's waiting here. It's open, and he's blocking us all in.
It's because you keep bitching.
No, it's because you're not hitting go. We were already here for 20 minutes. Go.
You guys keep bitching.
No, go. 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 Go.
Woo! Freedom! Freedom!
Put it up, full mass. You are looking at a person who obviously has nothing better to do. It is always a losing battle when you're dealing with someone that has nothing better to do than to F with other people. I truly hope somebody is able to do an intervention with you, Male Karen, who's holding up the parking garage exit. Because naturally, this is just making everybody have a bad day for absolutely no reason at all. Sharing thoughts here.
Yeah, I dated somebody like that before. I needed to get out. I should have got out even sooner. Because what it is, they're petty, and it boils down to who hurt you. You wake up in the morning, they do, wanting just to mess with people, just to hurt people and hold them up. You know, they'll cut you off in traffic, and then they'll go just inch by inch. They'll go real slow. They know you're in a hurry, okay? And it doesn't matter to them. So this is the true essence of a male Karen captured in real time. That was stunning. You can't honk them out of there either, Doc. They don't care.
No, that makes it
care.
worse. Yeah, I'm glad you're out of that situation, though. All right, a hell of a thing. Customer writes, quote, I hope Trump deports you on a receipt where a tip should be left. But it wasn't. Go ahead and put it up full mask. Got a hell of a story for you. Okay. An Ohio realtor, according to the narrative, leaves no tip at a Mexican restaurant and instead writes, quote, I hope Trump deports you. Okay, you're looking at it there. Stephanie Lovins has now been fired from Century 21 after allegedly writing the racist note to a waiter. Well, it turns out the server is a disabled U.S. citizen who works 2 jobs 7 days a week. Okay? We have it here, put it up. So this is an interesting dynamic. Stephanie is no longer a realtor with Century 21. However, she did claim or try to claim her credit card was stolen. All right, let's go down this rabbit hole. Going as far as to make multiple posts regarding her stolen card. We have that one up. She says, thank you for all of the recent notifications of scammers and profile hackers. I recently discovered a lost/missing credit card and an attempted use or purchase. I appreciate your patience while I manage the situation. Have a great day. Okay. So the restaurant posted a statement regarding the incident on Monday, writing, quote, "We believe in the power of respect, tolerance, and acceptance." Members of the Columbus community have launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise a tip for the server involved. The campaign had an initial goal of raising $1,000. It has since raised more than $7,500 to due to people who decided to help. And we have that there. If you would like to contribute, we encourage you to do so. Okay. Interesting saga. I actually saw this on social media and was following the story, and I saw how when people got hold of the information, let's put it that way, all of a sudden narrative about stolen credit cards and scammers and hackers emerged magically. The reality is that no one really believes the narrative of this particular individual who has tried to create, in my opinion, a social media narrative to manipulate the facts. Maybe she did not think that the waiter or personnel, the staff at the Mexican restaurant, that they were savvy enough to do what they have done. Maybe you underestimated everybody involved because, madam, if you write something like that on a receipt that has your name and your identifying information per your credit card number, you really have to underestimate the individuals that you are communicating with because naturally your information is there. Did you file a police report, madam? Can you put the police report on social media next time so we can see the police report? Typically, they won't go that far, ladies and gentlemen. That would then be a crime enforceable by law. All right, Sharon, thoughts here?
Boy, you pegged it. Okay. I would want to clear my name completely, wouldn't you? I'd go to Max. I'm going to Max. Okay. Right. And I am filing a police report and I'm dealing with it. So there you go.
There you go. All right. We'll see if there's an update to the story. All right. Well, hell of a thing. Zoe Saldaña causes outrage over her apology at a press conference. I'm going to give you the background to this, but here's it is.
Hello, Zoe. I'm Cristina Ibanez. I'm from Webedia, representing Sensa Cine, which is a Mexican outlet. Mm-hmm. I gotta say that it has been a lot of things has been said about the movie, about trans people, about empowering women, but less has been said about Mexico, which is the heart of it. Mm-hmm. So, what would you say about this, the heart of this movie, but also about the topic, who is really hurtful for us Mexicans?
First of all, I'm very, very sorry that you and so many Mexicans felt offended. That was never our intention. We spoke and we came from a place of love, and I will stand by that. I don't share your opinion. For me, the heart of this movie was not Mexico. We weren't making a film about a country. We were making a film about 4 women.
Okay, that didn't go over well, as you can imagine. So after taking home the Oscar, put a full mask, for Best Supporting Actor, this is a big deal, okay? Emilia Pérez, star of Zoe Saldaña, responded to criticism of the film's portrayal of Mexico after a journalist shared that it has been, quote, really hurtful for us Mexicans. To recap her quote, she said, she went on to say, these women could have been Russian, could have been Dominican, could have been Black from Detroit, could have been from Israel, could have been from Gaza. And these women are still very universal women that are struggling every day, but trying to survive systemic oppression and trying to find the most authentic voices. So I would stand by that. But I'm also always open to sit down with all of my Mexican brothers and sisters with love and respect to have a great conversation on how Emilia Pérez could have been done better. I welcome it. A lot of folks on TikTok are not pleased by those words. Here it is.
Emilia Pérez is objectively one of the worst movies of all time. As a Mexican woman, I didn't want to support the filmmaker, but my friend insisted. After 10 minutes, we were just like, we can't do it. Zoe Saldaña is already apologizing to Mexicans because we're like, what? We're like, you just won an Oscar? For this movie that completely mischaracterizes, distorts, and then profits off of Mexicans? That is so rich, but at least she did say she's willing to sit down and have a conversation with her Mexican brothers and sisters.
And secondly, her deflecting the entire question by saying that, oh, this film was meant to be a universal film. You know, all of its expressions of human loss and all these emotions are meant to be applied universally, and they are. See, that would apply if they had not used Mexico and its socio-political realities as the backdrop for this film. It basically bastardized and fetishized Mexican culture. So no, I'm not buying the whole, it's meant to be a universal film. It's supposed to be applied across any and all contexts despite geographic location. Like, no, f*** off.
As a fellow Dominican, I feel very comfortable in saying this, and I'm gonna be honest with you, even if I wasn't Dominican, I would still say it because I just really don't care. But Zoe Saldaña gets on my last nerves. I don't think Hollywood has ever treated Zoe Saldaña like a black woman. Like, she's always been able to be the one diversity hire in a room full of white people. Like, she's always had that privilege. And I think because she has never faced those difficulties, she kind of moves from this place of arrogance and ignorant where she is just so unaware of all of the struggles. She has starred in 3 of the highest grossing films of all time, right? She is very highly paid. She got to be in the Avatar franchise. She got to be in the Marvel franchise. She got to have a mini series on Netflix. She got to star in that huge Netflix movie alongside Ryan Reynolds, right? Like, she is not short on roles. There are always roles available to her, right? Like, she's never been pushed off and shoved off to the corner and forced to go through the misery and the torture of working with Tyler Perry. Like, she's never been scummed and pushed off to that, right? Like, she's never been black famous. She's always been invited into the rooms with the white people. She's always been invited onto the sets with the white people. And on top of that, not only is there a plethora of roles for her, very rarely are her roles related to her being black.
Someone said Zoe Saldaña moves like a white woman through the industry. And actually, she moves like a lot of non-black people of color. But y'all not ready for that conversation. Zoe got up there and said, I disagree. Actually, you're allowed to have your opinion, but I have mine, and you're wrong, bitch. And see, that's par for the core when it comes to Zoe Saldaña. Miss, I know black, I'm Dominican, but you took black-ass roles for 20 years. She had that desperate-ass grin on her face, clasping onto that Oscar, because nothing that reporter said mattered to her. The only thing that mattered was that I'm in this building with all these white-ass, rich-ass people who are extremely accomplished. And now I'm one of them, and I got my golden statue to prove it.
I've been seeing this interview with Zoe Saldaña all up and down my timeline, and I just wanted to use my platform to give my Mexican hermanos y hermanas a space to share their feelings. And I just want to offer that I know that rage. I know that feeling of insult, that feeling of audacity. How dare you?
Put up the picture for my ass. It's interesting, you know. There is no accolade that humankind can bestow upon a person that should be worth more than humankind itself. I know the Oscar is a big deal. The imagery of the Oscar goes all the way back to the ancient civilization of the Kemetic people. Do some research when you get a moment. It was meant to be an illustration of greatness because people believed you were great. Dear sister, I have to say this. You are a remarkable talent. But this is the fork in the road moment where you can be authentic to the values that are instilled in you or be authentic to the values that Hollywood has taught you. It is the difference between the nature of who you are and the nurturing of who they are. They have validated you. You are there. You have arrived. You have a voice beyond what the vast majority of human beings will ever have at that level of the game. You can interrupt them. You can stop it in production. You can stop it in the meeting, the production session. You have the ability to move things, utilize that awesome ability that you have in order to correct the wrongs that have been done. I stand with my Mexican brothers and sisters holistically to criticize you, to criticize the filmmakers. Everybody can't be wrong. Cultural dynamics are contextualized in the cultural experience of the culture. The culture has spoke to you. How do you dissuade from that? You can't. They are correct. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Or you can be an ostrich and just covet belonging. You want to belong so badly. You know, one of my best friends in high school, darker skinned, black, a beautiful girl. And I remember a white classmate said, "Oh, you're so beautiful for a black girl." Didn't even realize what he said. And she was so proud of it. And she told her mother and I, and her mother said, "Why can't you just be beautiful? I don't understand why this is so." But at that age and that lacking of maturity level, this was coveted. I don't know, Zoe, but I'm with you. It takes a sense of not caring about belonging. And until you care less about belonging and more about who you are, you can give all the speeches you want that are so-called woke about how you want, you know, I'm the daughter of immigrants. All that's true. But do you feel like you belong on that stage no matter who is in the audience because you are talented? Or do you just want to be accepted? I don't know why you would sit there. You don't respect the people who are criticizing you, the good Mexican people who are saying, whoa. And it just goes to show we're not a monolithic community. A brown girl did this. She's brown, you know.
So we'll see. I mean, there's still opportunity to respond thoughtfully. I hope that happens. And I will say, I know it's not easy. I know it's not. I remember years ago when I got in this industry, especially in talk radio, there's this system protocol to be friends with those who have power. And I remember making a decision many years ago, and I said something to the effect, I'd rather be invited to the barbecue than the ball. So if the truth that I'm telling you is going to offend the people that would normally invite me to those spaces, I'm okay with not being invited to those spaces, because at least I know I can always show up at Mama and them house every day. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier, and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Cray Souffle. Yep, Zoe got this so wrong so many ways. It's embarrassing to all women. David Morris, the Karenicity alert on my phone just went off. Yep. RJL Network. I love Zoe, but that answer was lackluster. Yep. Stacked in Florida. Damn, I don't think I would watch the movie now. Snack Panther. Dang, Zoe, you didn't learn a thing from the blackface scandal playing Nina Simone. And remember 29 months, Snack Panther, double doser, always the good looking host, Sharon and Doc. And we are thankful for you joining us at all times. Very appreciative of everyone's participation. All right, well, here we go. Jay-Z now sues his abuse accuser, and the accuser stands by their claims. Put it up full mass. Oh, here's another twist and another turn. Weeks after the Jane Doe dropped her stunning allegations, Jay-Z is suing her and her lawyers for malicious prosecution and abuse of process. So Jay-Z is filing a lawsuit against the unnamed woman who accused him of sexual assault last year, claiming she has now directly admitted she fabricated those explosive allegations. Now that's part of their claim, okay? The new case filed weeks after the lawsuit against Jay-Z, Mr. Sean Carter, was abruptly dropped last month, alleges that the Jane Doe accuser and her attorney, Mr. Tony Busby, carried out an, quote, evil conspiracy to extort a settlement from the superstar by making, quote, false and malicious allegations against him. Notably, the new lawsuit says the Doe accuser has now voluntarily admitted directly to Jay-Z's team that the star did not assault her and that Busby pushed her to make those allegations. So in a statement to Billboard, Busby sharply denied the allegations, quote, "This case is baloney and has no legal merit. Sean Carter's investigators have repeatedly harassed, threatened this poor young lady for weeks, trying to intimidate her and make her recant her story. She won't. Instead, she has stated repeatedly she stands by her claims. These same group of investigators have been caught on tape offering to pay people to sue me and sue my firm. This is just another attempt to intimidate and bully this poor woman that we will deal with in due course, end quote. The Blockbuster case against Jay-Z filed in December claimed that he and Sean Diddy Combs drugged and sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl at an after party following the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards, the VMAs. It represented a shocking expansion of the already sprawling claims against Combs, and came amid speculation that other stars might be implicated in Diddy's alleged decades of abuse behavior. Jay-Z forcefully denied the allegations, calling them a, quote, blackmail attempt. Last month, Doe abruptly dropped the case without explanation and without any kind of payment from Jay-Z. So TMZ has details regarding the woman's claims, and she has stuck by her story according to the publication. The anonymous woman who accused Jay-Z of sexual assault, in a sense, dismissed the lawsuit, is sticking by her story. She says he's intimidating and terrifying her. In the docs, the woman claims she was recently approached outside of her home and cornered by two people who told her they were investigators working for one of Jay's lawyers. She claims the people tried to get her to sign an affidavit stating that her sexual assault claims against Jay-Z were false, but she refused. The woman also claims the alleged investigators asked if her attorney, Tony Busby, sought her out as a client and offered her money to pursue false claims against Jay-Z. Two allegations she says that she denied. She claims the alleged confrontation left her intimidated and terrified, wondering how they found her when her identity had remained anonymous in media reports and legal proceedings. The woman even claims her parents were approached by two investigators asking similar questions about Busby and her sexual assault story. In the new documents, she reveals she decided to drop the claim because she was frightened by the reaction from Jay-Z and his supporters. She says she feared they would be publicly outed and subjected to public attacks. There are a few things happening here. Number one, she is still in the phase, or was still in the phase, where she is allowed to remain anonymous given what kind of allegation is being made. The courts shield alleged victims of sexual assault up to a degree. There are instances where everything could become public. So she's still at the phase where this is an anonymous filing, okay? It also says it happened when she was 13. Presumably, she's much older than 13 today, which would also mean that if this happened, if they were able to find her and if they were able to corner her, that somebody knew inside of Jay-Z's camp, if not Jay-Z himself, who this individual was. And they were able to identify her. Now that's troubling in itself, because now you're getting into witness intimidation and other dynamics that would completely crash the legal justice system. Beyond that, the narrative that she has dismissed the case and admitted to fabricating the story seems to not be corroborated by the publication that was able to speak with her directly and get her side of the story, which indicates, no, I was forced and cornered and terrified, and so I dismissed the case. Well, that's considered under duress. If that happened, that's under duress. And if you do something like that under duress, well, there are other remedies that the court may allow beyond that. And under duress in that particular scenario would be criminal. All of that would be a criminal dynamic. So this is all very interesting, and naturally everyone is innocent until or unless proven guilty in a court of law. But Sharon, if investigators, and I'm just thinking out loud, if investigators are going to this individual, they figured out who this individual was, they want this individual to sign this document, but wait a minute, the case has been dismissed. The case has been dismissed. The person has dropped the allegation. Why are you finding this person, seeking this person, going after this person? Because now what has happened, you have created potentially another case. What it looks like, at least that case was summarily dropped.
Yeah. Intimidation is what comes to mind for me, Doc. I don't know. We weren't there. Who knows? Music industry, we've talked about some of the disgusting things that have transpired, including with young women and men. But here's the thing. Rich and powerful people, you're talking about a billionaire who is accused, case dropped, whatever. Rich and powerful people have access and a legion of loyalists who will follow their directives. I don't know, like I said, what happened here, but some of the issues you've raised, something doesn't smell right.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the one-time accuser.
Yeah, we shall see, because it looks like this has now received legs of his own to go in another direction other than the original suit against Jay-Z, which is ironic. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
What contributions to the progressive cause are you most proud of? I mean, I don't have super high aspirations for a singular role that I can play in the movement or anything. I try to present myself as what I think that I am, which is a progressive man who is driven by a, I think, well-interrogated and well-organized system of values that I try to stay consistent on, and I demonstrate that that's the sort of life that a person can lead and be successful and be happy and all of that. And that should not need to be done, but there are so many people on the right that are trying to push men in the opposite direction that I want to be able to do that. Along the way, if I can get people to care about some topics that they wouldn't necessarily care about, or that for some men they might think that's not a topic that they should be focused on, that's definitely something that I relish doing. And along the way, I mean, we've been able to introduce people to a lot of candidates. That's been a big part of what we've done. You know, not all of them necessarily got in office. Probably most of them did not. And a lot of them, you might not even remember their names. But it was great to be able to provide people the platform where they had the chance of, you know, making a difference. Obviously, AOC and all that. But there's been a lot of great people along the way.
In the bonus episode for the members, we do some inside baseball. We're gonna look at John's desk. Nice little spaceship here. Nerd. But it is kind of look cool. Who has Legos? Oh no. He's taking apart a keyboard. Who has a mouse pad that's this big? He's got a dog with a nose that you can hang something on. You know what this desk screams to me? Nerd. And that's how we like him. We love Johnny Pie. He's got his own personality like everybody does at TYT. Come meet us all in the bonus episodes. TYT.com/team.
David Sorrell.
Dr. Phil.
It's Adam Green drop by.
Charlemagne.
Congressman, great to have you. It's great to be with you, Jack.
Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. A lot of the shows that I live on, you know, my CNN, my MSNBC, and even Fox, and any of the other shows, NPR, they are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today.
The one thing that I hate that politicians do, you know, they talk a
about the people they should be talking to.
Do they have any idea that they're the establishment and that they're hated? Or do they not realize that at all?
People are so deeply in their little universe. I think it's very easy to not really question what you're doing.
Voters have a right to ask questions of any nominee, whether they're independent, Republican, or Democrat.
The system is duopoly that suppresses competition.
How is it the year 2024 and we're still like, maybe they'll talk about paid medical? Like how is that like at one level it's like, this is what we're talking about now. You're like, it's 2024. And that's always been the critique, that your critique of us is, well, you guys give good speeches, you put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
Yes. Congratulations on all your success. You guys are everywhere.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both work to achieve. And I'm so glad that at least half the battle has now been won.
If you want to go really hear what's going on honestly, you should tune in to the Young Turks.
Thanks for doing such a great job. Please keep it up. Hang tough.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I like making you happy.
I didn't thought
This is a happy Anna Kasparian.
What's up?
You're welcome, YouTube.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
All right, welcome back. We got a few comments to read and very thankful for everyone joining the convo. 36 Chambers Dragon. Looks like Jay-Z is wearing a perfect white suit, sex party suit right there. while loving on P. Diddy, just saying. V. Brown, he was in every Diddy party picture. Well, a lot of them, not all of them. It's not possible to make all of them. It's too many. All right. Update. Hell of a thing. Higher education be damned. Department of Education. New lead. Confirmed. Linda McMahon. There will be, chaos to come. Here it is.
What about educational programming centered around specific ethnic and racial experiences? My son is in a public school. He takes a class called African American History. If you're running an African American history class, could you perhaps be in violation of this court order, of this executive order?
I'm not quite certain, and I'd like to look into it further and get back to you on that.
So there's a possibility. You're saying that public schools that run African American history classes, right? This is a class that has been taught in public schools for decades, could lose federal funding if they continue to teach African American history.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I would like to take a look at these programs and fully understand the breadth of the executive order and get back to you on that.
You're supposed to know. You're applying for the job. You're supposed to understand these things in the context of your role. There's more.
You have been named in a lawsuit, which alleges that you and your husband allowed for systemic and pervasive abuse of underage children to persist in your business for years. It is an ongoing lawsuit, and it alleges that you rehired a known sexual predator and you felt it was sufficient to simply direct him to steer clear of children. If confirmed, you will be responsible with overseeing the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, charged with ensuring equal access to education through vigorous enforcement of civil rights laws. I am so concerned about whether sexual assault survivors on campus can trust you to support them.
They certainly can trust me to support them. I have a granddaughter that is now in college. I have two grandsons who are in college. And I have a deep commitment of understanding of how I would feel if any of them were involved in sexual harassment or accused of sexual harassment.
It's a damn shame. Put it up. This position was purchased, just like the dropped investigation into her husband, Mr. McMahon, purchased. In an update, the Senate voted Monday to confirm former wrestling executive Linda McMahon as the nation's education chief, a role that places her at the top of the department that President Donald Trump has vilified and vowed to, well, dismantle. The Senate voted to confirm McMahon 51-45. McMahon will face the competing task of winding down the education department while also escalating efforts to achieve Trump's agenda. Already, the Republican president has signed sweeping orders to rid America's schools of diversity programs and accommodations for transgender students, while also calling for expanded school choice programs. At the same time, Trump has promised to shut down the department and said he wants McMahon to put herself out of a job. That's a quote. McMahon is a longtime Trump ally who left WWE in 2009 to launch a political career, running unsuccessfully twice for the U.S. Senate. She has given millions of dollars to Trump's campaigns and served as leader of the Small Business Administration during his first term, the SBA. Weeks after McMahon's confirmation hearing, the White House was considering weeks before McMahon's confirmation hearing, the White House was considering an executive order that would direct the education secretary to cut the agency as much as legally possible while asking Congress to shut it down completely. Some of McMahon's allies pressed the White House to hold the order until after her confirmation to avoid potential backlash. All political, has nothing to do with people. Meanwhile, announced on his Truth Social site, quote, all federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protest. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. No mask. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That sounds American to you? Does that sound like freedom to you? Does that sound like decency? Here's what's happening. All of these social ills of America, they have not been healed. They have not been healed. They have not been dealt with adequately. They have not been dealt with directly. And so what are you seeing? You are seeing the emergence of all of these ills coming right back to the forefront. Why? Because they were never dealt with properly in the first place. I know this seems to be dire, but this is a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity to face those wounds that were never healed properly in this nation. He's bringing them all to the forefront along with his allies who are bigots, yes. Money hungry, corrupt cowards, absolutely. But they are the product. They are the product. They are not the source. This country created what you see today. And it gives those who are carriers of light, meaning knowledge and information and truth, carriers of light, the opportunity to banish the darkness once and forever. I'm talking about people who don't give a damn about your progress or don't give a damn about your surviving. They don't. It should be clear. Do you think they care about veterans? No. Do you think they care about women and children? No. Do you think they care about life? No. Do you think they care about babies? No. Do you think they care about your jobs? No. Your economy? No. What is it left? At some point, you're going to have to realize that as they take, and take, they will eventually, if you're still here, take from you, if they haven't done so already. It's time to fight back. And we fight back through this amazing tool known as the people. It's a democracy for a reason. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
What went on with WWE, Linda McMahon and her husband is horrific. You've covered it on this show multiple times. Some of it is irrefutable. It's just irrefutable. So let's cut the nonsense here, okay? Any woman who stands by and allows such filth, and that's the only conclusion that can be drawn from some of this, doesn't belong in this position. And the question's a fair one. Her answer was a lie. We can't count on her to protect women. And we can't count on her to protect those who should be benefiting from an equal opportunity in education. Bought and paid for. I don't even know why these people are so narcissistic and egotistical that they demand these positions. Is it that big of a deal to serve like kings and queens and look down on people? Why does she want this so badly? Spend your money, go do fake wrestling, and leave us alone.
And that becomes the question. Why do they want these positions? Well, there may be a more diabolical plan at play to privatize the government so they can make another windfall of millions. We shall see. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
Unbelievable. If you needed more info as to the racist belief of one, well, Ben Shapiro, look no further. He's calling for the pardon of Derek Chauvin, the man who murdered and was convicted by a jury of his peers of that murder against Mr. George Floyd. Here it is.
If we are issuing pardons, however, there is one person that President Trump should pardon from federal charges forthwith. It would be incredibly controversial, but I think that it's absolutely necessary. That person is Derek Chauvin. President Trump should, in fact, pardon Derek Chauvin. But when it came to BLM, the inciting event for the BLM riots that caused $2 billion in property damage in the United States and set America's race relations on their worst footing in my lifetime, was in fact the railroading of Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd. The evidence demonstrates that Derek Chauvin did not, in fact, commit murder of George Floyd. George Floyd was high on fentanyl. He had a significant pre-existing heart condition. Talk about delivering pardons. President Trump, I think, should really seriously consider pardoning on federal charges. He can't pardon on state charges. Derek Chauvin, who was convicted of the murder of George Floyd. As I say, we will be covering this pretty extensively in the coming weeks. Right now, you should go to pardonderek.com and sign our petition asking President Trump to grant justice to Officer Derek Chauvin.
Now, who is backing the play? Well, Elon Musk, who decided to repost this in solidarity with such an offensive thought. To pardon a man who murdered a black man while being recorded doing so. Sharon, just when you thought it could not go any lower, they figure out how to knock the bottom out of low and go even lower than that. What say you?
These are punks and fools. They're agitators and gaslighters. That's all this is about. With everything else going on in the world today, including the price of avocados that are sky high and will go higher, this is what they want to do. They hate black people that much. Rather, they're so insecure by the black man in particular. A lot's been said about black women, but I want to be clear. There's no reason to hate a black man this much unless you are insecure. And we can get into some of the reasons, though some are probably not fit for the show, but they're real nonetheless, Doc.
Yeah, and to the black Republicans, to what I would deem as runaways that were at the White House during Black History Month, proclaiming their love and appreciation for this would-be leader. There was a time we were all on the same page about the death, the murder, George Floyd. Hell, white suburban women were on the same page about the murder of George Floyd. I wonder, what are you saying now, given the fact that Shapiro and also the current acting president of the United States, Elon Musk, is saying that this murder needs now have a pardon for the man who committed it. It is insane. And we shall bring you updates as they come. This news is developing. All right, Sharon, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Pleasure's mine. What they need to be saying is we could be next. At Sharon Reed Live across all platforms. Appreciate you very much, Doc.
We appreciate you as well. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.